evening, Perry.
Hey, how are you, Francisque, Judy, Jeff?
Hello.
Hey, how we doing today?
Yeah, we're doing well. We're doing well. It's dark outside. It's a beautiful evening.
Beautiful evening there and a beautiful day in the Carolinas. What time is it where you are?
6 p.m.
6 p.m.
Yeah. So
Uh,
end of a
as
good
we
day.
like to say here, we like to say here in the Carolinas, it's about time to pop a top on a beer or uncork a bottle of wine and kick back and relax a little bit.
Don't worry. When I finish talking to you, that's what I'm going to do.
I'm glad to hear that. Yes, sir. That's great. So bring us up to speed of where you guys are at right now with any new products or what's been going on as far as in your industry. Because I've been doing some background stuff, but just share me where we are right now.
Well, we presented last year on EPARTRADE and was our first webinar. And at the end of that presentation, we spoke about some of our future projects, things that we wanted to achieve. And this time I can talk about those projects. We've got some smaller wastegates. We've got an electronic wastegate in development. We've got some coatings. We've got larger anti-lag valves. We're kind of responding to, as well as putting products we think the market is looking for, we respond to what our customers want. If they ask for something, there's a reason. If it makes them go quicker, then we'll do that, or we'll try anyway.
Yeah, and I found that interesting in some of the reading I was doing, that how you customize the wastegates to the customer's deal. I mean, it's not like you got to go. I mean, I would say it like this: you don't really have a one size fit all type deal. You don't go to the shelf and say, okay, you want this. Well, we only got this. You have the ability to tune that wastegate to that application, no matter what might be, right?
Yeah, everyone comes to us. They have their own boost requirements. Every engine tuner has their own philosophy about, how they want to run an engine. And we listen to what they want. We can provide different materials. We can provide different springs, different clamps, whatever you need. We try and provide. And we deal with a lot of OEMs, and they all have their own way of doing things. Neither is right nor wrong. They're just different. And everyone wants to follow their own path. So we try and give the tools to each customer to do what they need to do.
So how about bringing us up to speed also on the different types of materials that you're using in your wastegates and how that affects some of the performance and some of the requirements that are necessary as far as your product?
Well, that's a great question, Jeff. We found that quality is everything. If you want to get good performance, you've got to have great quality. And this was a hard-learned lesson because we've had some failures on the track, and that hurts. That hurts a lot. So we took a decision many years ago. All of our wastegate castings are Inconel 625. It's a great material, it's phenomenal heat resistance. All of our valves are forged at a mnemonic 80, so very hard, awesome quality. And where we can, we use titanium. Sometimes series regulations say you can't. So once again, we explore everything to the limits of the regulations, but quality is what drives us.
When you talk about the different sizes, I mean, how many different sizes are there, and where does that begin? You said you've gotten smaller, but how big can you get? How does that also kind of factor in?
There's two things here. One is the size of the valve you need, and that's driven by the amount of boost you're running, the engine speed, power. And we have three main sizes there. We have 1.25 inches. Yeah, we have 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches, and approximately 2 inches as the main valve. When I say we're coming down in size, it's the overall package and the weight of the product that we're driving down. Weight is the enemy of speed. So the lighter we can produce something without compromising quality or performance, then that's what we're going for. And I've got some examples to show a little bit later on.
Okay, great. Fire away. I look forward to seeing them here.
Okay, I'm going to, can I share a screen here with you guys?
Please do.
Okay. Let's have a, okay, here we go, guys. I think the first thing is, you know, we're talking about wastegate development trends, and most of our development is responding to requirements from customers. So you've got to remember, everything we do is driven by quality and, you know, and winning. So this is a slide from our presentation last year, and also in December, and we said what we were going to develop in 2021 was an electronic wastegate, a water-cooled wastegate, larger anti-lag valves, and in typical racing fashion, everything had to be faster, cooler, lighter, smaller, you name it. So we also noticed some trends over the year. Things are going smaller, wastegates are going smaller, lighter, springs are getting lighter. People are running with, well, they want to run a lighter spring in the interests of response time, in the interests of control. Temperatures are going higher. We're doing some work with Dakar, you know, some of the competitors in the Dakar rally. Then we're using quite a few coatings to try and control temperature. And the previous speakers from Zycoat, Tim and Will, that was fascinating, because that was another take on, you know, what we do. We use a different product, but it's all for the same end, you know, to improve efficiency and performance. And then, you know, the other trend is towards electronic wastegates. As ECUs are getting better, as people's knowledge is getting, you know, better, more and more electronic wastegates. So yeah, we have quite a lot on our plates, and it's good, it's challenging. So the first thing was the water-cooled wastegate. This is used in rallycross quite a lot. You can run quite a lot of boost with this particular product. We also use it in road-going supercars. It just allows things to run a little bit cooler. This particular example, you can see there's a reasonable amount of power, 768 horsepower and sort of 800 newton meters of torque. It's huge. And the water-cooled wastegate dealt with this brilliantly. If you have a look at the picture right behind the wastegate, you can also see our anti-lag valve. And this is a trend we're seeing more and more, the wastegate running in tandem with an anti-lag valve. Once again, every manufacturer has their own philosophy, their own way of setting these things up and running them. We often get customers ask, what's the best way to control each and the other? It's difficult to tell. There's no one way. It depends what you're trying to achieve. And a lot of engine builders have their own philosophies, and they go down their own path. This was a big win. You can see there's two wastegates in the picture on the right-hand side. The wastegate on the right, which is the bigger of the two, is our medium wastegate. This is, it's got an 1.25 inch valve. It's been going for years. When I say that, we've been selling that for about 20 years. So recently we produced the LW wastegate. It's really imaginative name, lightweight. Okay, that's LW. But you can see it's significantly smaller. It's also lighter. It's a 1.2 pounds lighter than you know, the medium wastegate. And a rallycross customer, his first comment was, you know, the boost control strategy is simpler and easier, because the ratio of membrane area to valve area it's tuned. All of the components inside the gate are lighter, therefore controlling it is easier. Run a lighter spring, so it's win-win the whole way. Here are a couple of, you know, more images of the installation, and the one thing you notice in the picture, the engine installation there, you see the gate on the right, and there's that anti-lag valve again on the left-hand side. So marrying the two from a flow area point of view is quite a trick and an art, really. You want to make sure that you don't have an imbalance in flow. So, which brings me neatly onto anti-lag valves. Now, the one on the left, the 1.06 square inch inlet, we've had that one for about 10 years now, and it's one of our most popular anti-lag valves. But we had a few customers, as their turbo sizes increased, they found that they needed more airflow in order to keep everything spinning and so on. So they've pushed for a larger anti-lag valve, and we've increased the flow area from 1.06 to 2.24 square inches. So it's a massive increase, and it's allowed a lot of customers to run much larger turbos and still maintain a good degree of anti-lag. So once again, if you ask, we will try and help. The valve in the picture, the valve on the right is the standard anti-lag valve, as it were, with pneumatic control above and below the membrane. But we've had a couple of customers who wanted a solenoid controls anti-lag valve, because that reduces the lag even more. It gives you a much more instantaneous response. So we produced the version on the left-hand side, which is to take two Industria solenoid valves. The plumbing is simpler. You only have one hose going to the anti-lag valve, and then the solenoid valves decide where the airflow goes. So once again, it's a case of responding to what the customer wants. Both of those valves have sensors, so you can detect exactly where the valve is, and they're Hall effect, so no contact, available to work in hazardous environments.
Okay, I think we've gone far enough here. I need to ask a dumb question when I'm trying to understand, and I think I understand some of the principles, but I want to make sure I don't miss an opportunity to show my ignorance, but at the same time, maybe understand it a little bit better. The anti-lag valve and the way you got this set up, is to keep from and I'm trying to make sure I understand this. It's when you're going back to the throttle, is that momentary delay or too much fuel being dumped in to where all of a sudden it's like it makes a bigger bang?
No, it's
creates problems.
It's when you back off the throttle and everything closes down, the turbo tends to stall and start slowing down.
Right.
So when you then get ready to put your foot down again, if the turbos slow down, you've got to wait for it to spool up.
Right.
What this lets you do is, as you back off on the throttle, on the pedal, you can inject a pulse of air into the manifold, which keeps the turbo spinning. So the theory is to keep it spinning at all times, so that not lose any momentum. So when the time does come to power out of the corner, your response is much, much better.
Correct. Okay. All right.
So
that was a better way for you to. I understand that completely now. It's not a matter of, it's trying to keep that turbine spinning to where whenever it calls for the fuel to go back into it, it hasn't got to get wound up to be able to really take full benefit of it. It's more instantaneous, I want to say.
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
Responsive.
Yeah, exactly. It's just that it's an anti-lag valve in it, and as I mentioned, the bigger the turbo, and the bigger the turbo, the more the lag. This is just more momentum to overcome. So a lot of OEMs have put smaller and smaller turbos on their cars because you get a much better response. The problem is the power that you're chasing just isn't there because you're boost limited. So that's the wonderful.
It's kind of like a way to have your cake and eat it too.
It's the only way. It's the only way.
So when you're seeing this package you've got here, what is the life on one of these things? I mean, are they maintenance free, or is it something you got to, when you use it X number of hours, you got to do something to it? How does that work?
We say our stuff normally lasts a season of racing. Many years ago in the World Touring Car Championship, we supplied an OEM, and they would run one of our gates and one of our anti-lag valves for the entire season, which was about 4,000 competition miles. Servicing is relatively easy. There are not many parts inside. We replace the seals, all of the rubber bits we replace, re-grease valve guides and so on, and you're good to go again. It is very, very easy to service and relatively maintenance free. So it's keeping control of temperature as well. Temperature is, can be the enemy. So
Right.
as long as we keep some air blowing over them or keeping them cool, that's fine. No issues at all.
I love it.
I can, talking about heat and temperature, exactly as Tim McCarthy was saying, we don't want to get heat radiating into the engine bay. We want all of that heat to go down through the pipes. It gives us much greater efficiency. And we've had a lot of requests for coatings. Now, I know Tim's was a polymer-based coating, and I'm really interested to find out more about that, I have to say. Our standard coating it comes from the UK, and we have two styles. One is a ceramic coating, the sort of black coating there. And then we also have an Inconel blanket, which is on, and you can see we apply that on wastegate castings, also on anti-lag valves. So once again, we're chasing every little bit of performance we can. Which coating you get depends on what you want and what you're trying to achieve. As always, everything's a balance, I suppose.
Oh, yeah. Perry, let me make sure I interject this real quick. Our attendees out there. Now, if you got a question for Perry, don't be afraid to type it in, and we'll be glad to get it up there in front of him so that he can, answer your questions or give some insight that we were not touching on. This is what this webinar is all about. So please be part of it with us, and don't feel like you just have to sit there and listen. You can participate. Please do.
I'm going to move on to probably one of the most exciting developments we've had. Earlier this year, we did an electronic wastegate for a customer. And once again, you can see there's an Inconel blanket around the casting. But this is using a commercially available actuator, electronic actuator, made by a German company called Megaline. It's a beautiful piece of engineering, but it's quite a complicated piece, but it was our first attempt. And it worked well, and it looks good, but the package is quite big, as you can see. So we then went to Mark II, with our drivers reducing the size, again, because that makes for easier packaging, and also reducing the weight. So we've developed a system using a brushless DC motor, and it's significantly lighter than current wastegate. And then the really big deal is we did some testing with this, and we managed to achieve something we've never really achieved. There was always a degree of leakage with a standard membrane wastegate. So here we are. Here, though, we had a 60 psi pressure on the bottom of the valve, and you can see on the flow gauge, zero flow. It's actually completely sealed at 60 psi boost pressure. This is huge. So now we're investigating further. It seems too good to be true, so we want to see if we can break it. We haven't managed yet. This is a very big deal. Only the rallycross guys, maybe Formula One, are in that sort of region of 60 psi boost, which is gigantic. So if we can control this and do it well, then we're very, very excited about the future for this product.
Okay, so based off what you're telling me here, because that was one of the questions I had for you, what boost level, can your wastegate tolerate? But is this the target number right here that we're talking about, 60 psi?
I mean, that 60 psi is huge. Normally you'd run 15, maybe 20 psi.
Okay.
Rallycross guys, they normally run 60 psi, but a standard membrane style wastegate, the life is limited at that boost pressure. Say Formula One, we done some products, and yeah, they're also run at that boost pressure, but normal boost pressure is less than 30 psi. Even 30 psi is quite high. So I think what this is showing us, it's showing us the art of the possible, what we can achieve regularly. The thing that fails at high boosts in a wastegate is normally the membrane. The whole big deal with the electronic wastegate is there is no membrane to fail. So it gives you control right away. And say, if we can make this as reliable as the rest of our products, I will be over the moon, because that'll be a huge, huge win. And the point is, if it can withstand, 60 psi happily, if you're running it at 30 psi, then, your reliability is going to be awesome, which is what we chase at the end of the day.
Okay. With all that being said, I want to come to you and talk to you about, building me a wastegate. What is the lead time for a build? And then at the same time, after I've got it, I'm out there running it, whatever, and I need to get I want to send it back into you for service. Okay. What kind of turnaround time are we talking about?
If you come to us and you order one of our standard wastegates, our turnaround time is normally 2 weeks. Sometimes less, but I'm going to say 2 weeks, because then no one's disappointed. And that, includes shipping to wherever you happen to be in the world. That's not an issue at all in this day and age. Normally, shipping to our customers in the States, they get goods about 2 days after we ship from here. So as for servicing, as I mentioned, most of our products are good for 4,000 or 5,000 miles, quite happily. So at the end of your season, you can either return the wastegate for a service, or we offer service kits as well if you want to do that yourself. We do provide videos to help with servicing if that's what you require. But yeah, that's generally the way we work, and it's all about having a relationship with the customer at the end of the day. Everyone has their own requirements, and we just want to make sure you get what you want.
Speaking of, you're in the UK, is there anybody in the United States that's got like a service representative or a product, store where if you wanted to try to get something here in the United States, can you?
At the moment, no. We've been talking about this quite a lot, and we investigated the possibility of having service agents in the States and in Europe as well. And a lot of the works teams, the OEM, manufacturer teams, said what they valued was the personal relationship we had. And they didn't necessarily want to talk to a distributor. They wanted to, if they had a problem, they wanted to talk to us straight away. And I know you're in the States, so time difference can be anything from 5 to 12 hours, 8 hours. That's fine. The phones here are on all the time, as is email. So it's all about the relationship at the end of the day. And no one knows our products like we do. That's,
That's understandable, but I was just curious to see, how far you had progressed.
As I say,
in the last season.
It's something we wrestle with quite a lot. We supply an IndyCar manufacturer. So, we stand behind our product. If I can place one of me somewhere in the States, then I'll be happy. Otherwise, no one's going to be as passionate about this as the person who owns the company. That's the problem. If
no,
you can
that I understand, and I can appreciate, Perry. I really can, because they're your babies, and you know them. You know exactly which ones and what did this and what did that. And when somebody calls you, you understand how to tell them how to fix it. If it's as simple as saying, get it off and get it back to me, it's not to come back here. That's what you're looking for. If you're even a customer, just tell me what I need to do to get it fixed.
Yep.
And that's what you're looking for.
Exactly. That's the way to go.
Yeah.
So, and then, you know, we've got all these great things. So we've had a year of change, but there's a lot of things that don't change and they will never change. I've mentioned the Inconel castings for our wastegates. I've mentioned the forged valves from the Monic 80. The membranes we do use in the standard wastegates, they're incredible quality, manufactured by Diacom in the USA. All of our components are machined from billets and everything is batch controlled. So, you know, if you come to me with a gate and it's marked with our serial number, I can tell you who built it, when they built it, when it was dispatched, and that's going back years. And all nuts, bolts are all aerospace components. Everything is torqued. You'd be amazed how many people don't torque things. And every single assembly, once again, has an individual life number. So, you know, if you buy a gate from me, I will know it's Jeff Hammond's gate, and I can tell you who built it, and you can, you know, we can give you its entire life as a history. Right. So, and that can follow, you know, very often, you know, people buy and sell race cars all the time. And we'll get someone we've never dealt with before, and they say they've got a gate of ours and this is its serial number. And we'll go, oh, great. We can tell you exactly what the history is of that and how it's been treated. So, yeah, as you say, every product is a baby.
No, I mean, when you're putting this much emphasis on getting it right, a lot of times you're the only one that can do it right. And that's just the way it is. And that's good.
It is, and that, you know, goes through in the championships that we're involved in. Indy, I've mentioned, Le Mans and World Endurance Championship, DTM, you know, won the championship there. Super GT, Rallycross, World Rally Championship, World Touring Cars as it was, GT3, and I mean the GT3s are racing all over the world now. There's, you know, incredible championships on every continent in the world, and it's been phenomenal for us. It's been phenomenal for business. And then the reason I've put F1 there is, well, we'll see what happens in the next little while as to who wins the championship, and then maybe I'll make that not a gray number, but not a gray letter, but a black one. We'll see.
You're still in the fights, what you're trying to tell me.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's what matters.
Absolutely. We'll know in the next 2 weekends.
Well, good luck with that, because I'd like to see this whole list all black with your product on it.
Well, so would I. Believe me, so would I.
All right. Well, good luck with that. I see Francis is back, and yeah, it's kind of like to say he's there to tell me and you that it's time for us to quit playing and we got to move on.
Well, thank you, Jeff. It's been a pleasure.
Well, it has been mine too, sir.
I'm sorry to interrupt. No, I've known Perry for probably 15 or 20 years.
Yeah, it's about right.
And I've seen him build his company from a one-man shop to this beautiful organization with he has another company called Angle Consulting, and he really is competing at the top level in every racing categories around the world, and that just shows how dedicated he is. And so thank you very much, Perry, for being with us.
Yep.
Thank you, guys. It's a pleasure as always.
The concept for EPARTRADE is basically, in my opinion, there's a big hole in the internet. So the internet started many years ago, but there's never been an online business community for racers on the World Wide Web. The need for EPARTRADE is actually quite obvious. Basically, people in the business of auto racing need a place online to hang out and to get their problems solved.
It's extremely simple for a buyer or for a supplier to interact on the platform. The first thing you need to do is sign in, which is free. And the second thing is, when you see a product that you're interested in, all you need to do is click on request more information. If it's a company, you click on request more information, and then from there, it is forwarded directly to the buyer or to the supplier.
You can go to epartrade.com, you become part of a community of businesses in racing, and it makes sourcing products much easier than just on the internet or using Google.
And EPARTRADE, there is no e-commerce. It's literally a connection just like at a trade show. So now, any time of the year, a buyer could reach out to a supplier through an email.
More than that, it's a place to go just to keep current every day. So it's a good place to start your workday in your racing business or in your offices of your professional race team. And you know you're current when it comes to new technology, industry news, technical papers, technical videos, all of that and more. We're not looking for a million hits per day. All we want is people who are really the volume buyers of racing products in the racing industry to be part of the little world of EPARTRADE. We have racing businesses participating from around the world. So you get suppliers from around the world, you get buyers from around the world.
EPARTRADE really eliminates having to travel, closing down your shop. Now you have a place to showcase globally your racing product and technology.
There are two types of people, racers and everyone else. Racer Magazine is for those who believe that racing is a way of life. Racer embodies the excellence that defines a sport driven by passion, courage, and ingenuity. Get 1 year of both Racer's print and digital edition for only $39 with instant access to our entire digital issue archive. Subscribe now at info.racer.com.